Good evening and welcome to the Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with the Arizona State Office of AARP. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation and approximately 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen communities and we advocate for what matters most to families, such as health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. During the month of February, we will focus on caregiving by providing specific tools and information to help caregivers tackle post-holiday concerns, along with legal and financial issues. We understand the caregiving journey can be difficult and lonely, but we want you to know you are not alone. We are here for you and will help you navigate the challenging road ahead. Visit us at www.aarp.org/caregiving for more resources and information. You can also visit us at www.aarp.org/nearme to find out what local events we have coming up in the state. We hope you enjoy the tour tonight. Now I'll turn things over to Marshall Shore.
Folks, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Hello and good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. I am so happy that you can all be here this evening as we get ready for a really good show. And, you know, my background kind of gives a clue into kind of the theme of tonight's show. So we're going to have so much fun. So happy you can be here. And welcome all of you. So, today, my name is Marshall Shore, and today is kind of a special day. It's not just February 17th of 2022. Why? It is also back on this date in 1908. Miss Ellen Lynn was appointed the very first female mail carrier in Tucson and I think in Arizona. Her route covered a circle around the entire town of Tucson, and she did it in a horse and buggy. Now, it is also Random Acts of Kindness Day, which is a day when we all just kind of help each other out. So, I was in line at a little coffee shop, and I bought the person's coffee behind me. So I hope they enjoyed that little jolt of caffeine from me. And, it's one of those things that, we shouldn't just do nice things for each other on this one day a year, but really one of those things that we do year round. It is also Cafe au lait Day. So basically what is French for just coffee with milk has been turned into something quite fanciful if you go into a little cafe and they create little works of art in each individual cup. And, you can always wind up getting a little bit of cafe au lait down in New Orleans at Cafe du Monde. Oh my gosh, what a great place. And then, and then I forget what those little things are, the little deep fried balls of dough. So it is also, beignets. It is also Cabbage Day. Now, I think this is really to kind of just not like, hey, it's a good hearty kind of winter vegetable, but also kind of just like laying the ground for a holiday coming up very soon next month. And so it's going to be an exciting show. So now we always do a variety of things here. Why, it's kind of a a little Arizona history happy hour variety show just looking at Arizona history. So we are going to do a little bit of trivia. We talk about a little town in Arizona, as well as something from the vault, which might be just art in plain sight you might not be aware of, as well as a little Arizona music, as well as a cocktail, and as always, a very special guest. And tonight is not unusual in that at all. So if this is your first time watching, you're probably wondering, who is that man and why is he on my screen? And screen, and screen, and screen. So I moved here 22 years ago. I was working in Brooklyn at a beautiful Carnegie building and trade that all for some of what they're experiencing. Some folks like we just ran some folks from Chicago and they were so happy to be here and not there. So that blistering wind, that pile of snow. So traded all that for a little library in South Phoenix, the Harmon Library, which was a 1950 building, and now they're in a much more modern digs. So it's a great little library. If you get a chance, go check it out. It's a beautiful building. Now, when we moved here, we promptly moved into a 1956 ranch. Now, when we moved in, the house was oh so beige. I'm happy to say that that is not the case. It is now on the outside just a simple seafoam and cantaloupe. And there's what my kitchen looks like today. That original 1956 buttercream yellow tile, that in-the-wall oven with no window, and it still works like a charm. Now, when I moved here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history here. But I knew that wasn't true because every time I went for an adventure, I came face to face with so many amazing people, places, and stories. And then there's that post-war boom that I think in a lot of ways made the Arizona that we all know and love today. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passed over to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers. So my name is Marshall. I'm also known as the Hip Historian, which means I get to play a lot with Arizona history, just like we're going to do tonight. But I do some other fun things. Oh, and actually we just did that last week. So the third Saturday of March will be our Haunted History Tour. So I've got to get that updated. As well as I just started working on an LGBTQ book of history of Phoenix. So that's been quite fascinating, just dipping my toe into that. And I'm excited because I'm also working on a super cool project with Casablanca. I'm going to be doing a little presentation for some of their residents, just kind of on the quirky history of this Arabian themed housing complex that's got quite a storied past. And then coming up in March, we are going to have 7th Avenue Street Fair. M7 is going to be back on again on Saturday, March 5th, and I'm going to have a booth there. So come by and see me. Now, I see Sarah's already found the chat. If you want to say something, you can always throw it in the chat. If you miss the chat or something else, you can always reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, even through my website. It's all good because I love to hear from folks because that's honestly where I get most of my best stuff. Now, it would not be a happy hour without a cocktail. And I have to say, I love that PJ is my cocktail advisor because he comes up with some really cool things. And so this is going to give away one of the answers, maybe, if you pay. Oh, maybe not. All right. So this is called The Last Train. And so PJ packages this up in such a nice little. So I just have to then pour it into my glass for a yummy, scrumptious cocktail. And so in The Last Train, we have Whiskey Del Bach Classic, Charot Aloe Vera Liquor, Shelley Limoncello, and Sunny Delight. Now, one of the reasons why he chose two of these, so the Whiskey Del Bach Classic, as well as the Shelley Limoncello, just got put on a list of one of the top 100 liquors. They're both made right here in Arizona, and people are starting to recognize that we not just have wine, but we have other drinkable things as well. So let's try this and very nice. Well done, PJ. Thank you so much. All right, so now we have Little Arizona. Now, I talk about being from New York, but I really grew up in a little tiny farm town in the middle of Indiana of about 25 people. And so, decided that so I really kind of have this kind of affinity for little towns, and then moving to New York, kind of a big town as well. So I like places that are kind of quirky, unusual. So tonight we're going to talk about Tortilla Flat. So, nope, you can't really see that map very well. So there you go. So, it's out through like Apache Junction, north of Superior, and it has a population of 6. Was established back in 1904. Now, it wasn't a town in 1903 when they started building the Roosevelt Dam, but because all the workers building the dam, that's pretty much how the town got formed. And from there, it was off and running. Now, it was never a huge town, so it always had problems getting recognized as a place. Now, there's always debate in terms of that name, Tortilla Flat, where it came from. Did it come from the fact that there were rocks out there that were flat and kind of stacked? Or there's various versions of, in Arizona, when it rains, things flood. And so there were some workmen out there, they got flooded, they ran out of flour, they had to make tortillas. And so that's also possibly how Tortilla Flats got its name. But anyway, it's a lot of fun to take and go visit. It's been seen by Hollywood as something you might want to see. You can see, Have Gun Will Travel was filmed there. You've got Blind Justice, 2 TV shows, as well as The Mountain Road. And even Jason Robards was here for the Ballad of Cable Hogue. So there was lots of Hollywood intervention in that area. And there's what it looks like. Now, it's kind of a throwback to the past, but, it actually was on the other side of the road pre-40s. There was a flood that wiped it out, so they rebuilt on the other side of the road. And then in the 80s, there was a fire. But, the history just has a way of keep popping up and making itself visible and enjoyable. Now, you can go have a drink at the bar where you get to sit on your very own little saddle. And the wallpaper of the bar is dollar bills. And so you can hang out there with all 6 of the residents who are there to basically make sure all of this stuff runs, and you can go and have a great adventure. Now, they also are known for their ice cream because it's a really unusual flavor. Prickly pear gelato. So not even ice cream, gelato. So, and rumor has it they sell a lot of it there. So go check out Tortilla Flats. And while you're there, you're not far from the Tonto National Forest, where it's almost 3 million acres around Canyon Lake and so much more. So you're not going to run out of things to do. You could go for a day or a lot longer at Tortilla Flats. All right. So now we have our special guest. So, oh my gosh, I am so happy to bring Russ on. So, hello.
Hi.
How's your night going?
It's going well. Am I framed well? Okay, very good.
So yeah, we can see you.
Okay, great. And hear me. That's important.
And hear you, which is even more important. So Russ, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been doing a kind of a talk show for a while. You've been doing some comics.
Yes, I would classify all of that as storytelling. I'm a local storyteller. I am a cartoonist, bit of a poet, bit of a stand-up comic. So all of the entertainment that I enjoy, I also try to contribute back to the world, I guess you could say. I self-publish a mini comic called Amazing Arizona Comics that features Arizona-based or inspired superheroes. This is June Monsoon, for example. And
appropriately named. Fancy that.
The Dust Devil right there. So I've been self-publishing those comics since 2010 when I moved back to the Valley from California. I grew up in Peoria, went to California for some college and career, but moved back here in 2010 when I began self-publishing these comics and kind of dabbling in performance, like open mic, comedy, and poetry. And I was very proud to be the 2018 Best Storyteller in Phoenix, according to the Phoenix New Times. I think I could boast about that title until 2023. Then it'll start to sound a little sad. But 2018, that was like...
Well, 2018, that was like last week.
Well, right. It seems like it really does seem that way.
So keep using it.
Right. Well,
kind of like those restaurants. It's like, founded in 1895.
Exactly. Let me get that tattooed on my shoulder. I think it established in 2018.
All right. Well, we've got a little bit of trivia coming up.
Yes, indeed. I am, as you know, Marshall, a tremendous fan of the Monkees. I am a lifelong fan ever since, and I think it's truly genetic. My mom had a crush on Davy Jones when she was a kid. And so I think I just inherited that, maybe in vitro, I don't know. But when I moved back to Arizona, I kind of really dug into some surprisingly local Monkees trivia. So I just want to preface these questions with my assertion that next to Los Angeles, where the Monkees, of course, were kind of formed, that was kind of their home base. I really believe that if you're a Monkees fan, the next best place to live is in Arizona, because so much of their music and history and their television lore has ties to the Valley.
Indeed, and we're going to talk about some of that. So
I'm
now
excited.
when we do trivia here on Happy Hour, we don't do your typical bar trivia where it's like all we care about is did you know or not know the answer. That's not very fun. So what we do here is we're going to go through our questions. They're all multiple choice. So even if you don't know the answer, just take a guess. And you know what? You might just be right. And the beautiful thing is after that, we're going to go through and then talk about the answers and kind of tell the story of those answers. So for me, that's where the magic and the fun really happens. And so, all right, now you can keep track of this. You can keep track with a marker on your leg, on your arm, on the person sitting next to you, on your cat. You could even use a pen and a piece of paper, whatever makes you happy. And there you go. No shame here. It's all about having some fun. All right. So question 1, which popular Monkees songwriter was born in Phoenix? Was it A, Neil Diamond, B, Carole King, C, Bobby Hart, or D, Harry Nilsson? All right. Well, you're trying to figure out which one of those was born right here in Phoenix and wrote a bunch of songs for the Monkees. We're going to mosey on to question 2. So, which Monkees song was inspired by a town right here in Arizona? Was it A, Pleasant Valley Sunday, B, The Last Train to Clarksville, C, I'm a Believer, not I'm a Beaver, because I know he's coming up, and I think he's coming in concert soon. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about the Monkees.
I think his first haircut was inspired by the Monkees. At least Peter Tork.
That's very likely possible. And then, or is the answer D, a little bit me, a little bit Yuma? All right. So while you're sitting there singing the song in your head, we're going to go on, because I know that's what Russ is doing.
It's hard not to.
Well, it's a catchy tune. So, all right. So question 3, which local concert venue was featured in the Monkees Season 1 final episode, Monkees On Tour? So was that local concert venue featured? Was it A, the Celebrity Theater, B, the Memorial Coliseum, C, the Orpheum, or D, Russ's mom's backyard? She had a nice backyard. It could have been your backyard.
How dare you, sir?
All right. Question 4. What kind of bird did Davy Jones chase on the lawn outside of Mountain Shadows Resort? Is it A, a peacock, B, a duck, C, a swan, or D, a dodo? So which one of those birds was Davy Jones chasing around on that iconic resort, Mountain Shadows? Shadow Mountain Resort. All right. So, this is going to be a good one, because it's like, okay. So, question 5. Which radio station featured the Monkees as guest DJs before their concert here in 1967? A, was it KRUX, Crux, B, Kriz, C, KTAR, or D, KEZ? So which one of those radio stations? Now you might be able to, it's like some of you might be able to narrow it down to 2, but which 2? And which is your top choice? Dun, dun, dun. The answer will be revealed very soon. All right, question 6. Tucson-born singer Linda Ronstadt found fame after her success with the song Different Drum. Which Monkee wrote that song? Oh, okay. So was it A, Peter Tork, B, Micky Dolenz, C, Davy Jones, or D, Michael Nesmith? So who wrote one of Linda Ronstadt's big hits, Different Drum? All right. Coming down the side slope or the back slope, Micky Dolenz was part of the Hollywood Vampires, a social group of celebrities that met to drink and play softball. Which famous Arizona resident founded the Hollywood Vampires? So, was it A, Bret Michaels? And what band was he in?
Oh, gosh. Bret Michaels?
Well, I was like, we have Rob Halford with Judas Priest. I was like, Bret Michaels was...
I just figured he's such
I think he was Motley Crue.
Oh, yeah, he's found fame solo since then, so more of a household name than Bob Halford.
Well, that's true, because people may not know who Rob Halford is.
Yeah, there's probably a huge Rob Halford fan watching this right now. Shaking their fist.
Exactly. Shaking their fist at the screen, getting all upset and irate, and we can't hear them. So was it Bret Michaels, B, Alice Cooper, C, Rob Halford, or D, Charles Barkley? So which one of those celebrities founded the Hollywood Vampires? All right. Then back in 1968, Monkees fan Rhonda Cook was in a terrible traffic accident on Cave Creek Road that resulted in the loss of her legs. Local DJ Pat McMahon which you might know from other things as well than just a local DJ. But he reached out to the Monkees, and one of them flew to the Valley specifically to visit her. Which Monkee was that? Was it A, Peter Tork, B, Micky Dolenz, C, Davy Jones? Oh, Poison. Oh, Anita got it. Poison.
Oh.
For Bret Michaels.
I was going to say Rat, so I'm glad we figured that.
I was wrong in my conviction. I was like, well, I think it's this band, but I don't know. All right. D, was it Michael Nesmith? So who came to visit Rhonda Cook, who had been in a horrible accident? Which one of the Monkees was it? All right. Question 9. Current Valley resident Ann Moses was a contributor and editor to what teen magazine that frequently featured the Monkees? Was it A, Tiger Beat, B, Sweet 16, C, Reader's Digest, or D, National Geographic? So which one of those magazines geared towards teens, hint, 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 all right. Moving on to question 10. Michael Nesmith launched his 2013 tour, The Movies of the Mind, at what unique venue in the Valley? Was it A, the Orpheum, B, the Musical Instrument Museum, C, the Marquee, or D, the Guitar Center near Metro Center? Wow, that's randomly specific.
Well, Guitar Center has many locations throughout the Valley. So.
They do, and Metro Center no longer exists, so it's like... So, all right. So while you are thinking of all your final answers, we are going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break. And so we are going to talk about that 1955 classic movie, Oklahoma. Now, you might not, or maybe you do know that it was not filmed in Oklahoma, which would have made sense possibly, but they actually chose to film in Arizona. Now, rumor has it that one of the folks from the movie was flipping through an Arizona highways and came across photos of the San Rafael Valley and decided that's where they should shoot the movie. Now, it was said Oklahoma was so upset that Oklahoma was not being filmed in Oklahoma, but instead Arizona, that they were going to try and ban Arizonans from coming to Oklahoma. They didn't quit quite that far, but they were hopping mad about it. So, all right. So, if you're ready for some answers, we're about to embark down that hallway. All right. So question 1, which Monkees songwriter was born right here in Phoenix? And it was C, Bobby Hart.
That's right. One half of the legendary songwriting duo, Boyce and Hart. Bobby Hart was born and raised here in Phoenix. And a great childhood story of his will help answer the next question, actually.
All right. So which Monkee song was inspired by a town right here in Arizona? Oh, and I put the wrong city.
Clarkdale? Clarkdale it is.
It is okay. I was like, oh no. I was like, I read Clarksville. I was like, uh-oh.
Well, the story is that when Boyce and Hart were tasked with writing the first Monkees hit, they penned The Last Train to Clarkdale, but it didn't have a lyric. It was missing a lyrical quality. Bobby Hart remembered driving to Oak Creek Canyon as a kid with his family every summer, and they would pass through Clarkdale en route. He remembered the train station. He crafted the song kind of inspired by that scene, but Clarkdale had such a hard end. It didn't have that musical pop. So they went with Clarksville. So a lot of people assume Clarksville is the town in Tennessee, but it is, in fact, out of Bobby Hart's own mouth, through his own lips, that was indeed originally Clarkdale, Arizona.
Wow. Forever cast on vinyl by the Monkees.
And I got to tell you, Marshall, when I first learned that fact, the very next free day I had, I drove to Clarkdale expecting a monument in the Monkees' honor. I thought, surely this town knows its seminal place in pop culture and rock and roll history. The train station was closed that day, so.
And no, I mean, but you know, it's like when you go, it's like stand on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. They've got that whole little scene set up just right for a selfie.
Absolutely, I was totally ready.
Maybe Parkdale should do the same thing. A little statue of the Monkees.
Yeah, complimentary coffee flavored kisses, maybe, whatever. But at least something in honor of Bobby Hart, who was a really prolific songwriter and, again, a native to Arizona. So it's awesome that we share a little bit of that rock and roll history.
Indeed it is. All right. So which local concert venue was featured in the Monkees' season number 1 finale episode? Monkees on Tour. The Memorial Coliseum.
That's right. The season finale for the Monkees' first season of their TV show was shot, unlike the sitcom format of the previous episodes, in kind of a pseudo documentary or rockumentary, we would call it now, where director Bob Rafelson of Easy Rider fame followed the guys on a concert trip here. I think it was January '67. In that episode, you see them landing at Sky Harbor Airport. You see them at the resort, and of course, you see them perform at the Coliseum. So, as much as that 22 minutes of film is an awesome snapshot of what the Monkees were like at the peak of their fame, it's a very interesting retrospective of some local landmarks as well.
Yeah, I mean, because Mountain Shadows, as it existed then, is not around. So that's one of the things I love about watching that, is being able to see the grounds of the fabled Mountain Shadows.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very cool. And scenes from that romp were used throughout the entirety of the next season. You know, they would often do these jump cuts to the guys being zany and running around, and they used a lot of that footage. So
right, because when they speed up when they were running, they would speed it up, so it was like almost like Benny Hill.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So what kind of bird did Davy Jones chase on the lawn outside of Mountain Shadows? And it was See a Swan. And there you can see, well, you know, I have a feeling if all the fans of the Monkees would have known that Davy Jones is running around Mountain Shadows with no shirt on, there
would have been birds that scene. Absolutely. I don't know this, Marshall. Were swans common at the resort? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they brought it in. I mean, I don't, as far as I know, Anita might know if there was, I mean, more than a pool. I don't remember if there was anything more. Oh, and actually Anita is just leaving us. So, oh, well, so she's not going to be able to answer that question. So, you know, I don't know.
It's just an interesting, you know, when you think of peacocks at Swallow Ranch Park and ducks.
Right. That's really the only bird that I can think of is kind of prominent. I mean, none of the other resorts have like an animal that's there. And Canto Park has ducks.
Right.
But I don't really think of any. I mean, it's like I don't really come to mind any other birds or animals that are known.
Sure, I would have to imagine that the swans were brought in for an exotic element on the grounds there.
Maybe even just for the Monkees, they brought in the swan.
It could be. It could have been in Davy's Rider to have a swan wandering on the ground.
No green M&Ms and a swan. All right. So, which radio station featured the Monkees as guest DJs before their concert here in '67? Indeed, it was KRUX. Crux.
That's a great sequence in that season finale episode called Monkees on Tour, where I think Peter was back at the resort not feeling well. So it's just Davey, Mike, and Mickey at the KRUX station. They hog tie the DJ and take over for the afternoon. And Mike does a kind of a faux farm report. And it's just a really funny promotion for the concert that night in Phoenix. And it's a great sequence.
And I think it's always funny because it's like, from just people who grew up here, it was like you were either a Crux person or a Criz person.
That's right.
You didn't bounce back and forth. I mean, you chose one and you stuck to it.
Did they play the same? Was it the same format?
I think it was pretty much the same. I don't think it was much difference, but it was like, I think Crux did a better job of, I think, marketing the hits. It's like they would come out with a hit list of like the hit songs. I think Alice Cooper is known to have like one of the best collections of, it was like a weekly list of like what were the top songs.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he tells a great story of cruising down Central with a girl in the car, and then there's nothing cooler than hearing your song on the radio and changing the channel. That's what Alice Cooper says. Cool. You know, normally you'd want to crank it, but it's like, that's just my latest #1 hit. Let's change it.
Oh, no worries. Let's see what else is there. That is hilarious. All right. So question 6, Tucson-born singer Linda Ronstadt found fame after her success with the song Different Drum. Which Monkee wrote that song? Michael Nesmith.
Absolutely. He pitched Different Drum with a bunch of other songs to the Monkees producers, and they said, that Different Drum, that doesn't sound like a hit. So he shopped it around and gave it to Linda Ronstadt, maybe at the Troubadour in Hollywood when they were performing there. And as we know, she ran away with it with the Stone Ponies, and it became a hit. And Mike and Mickey have respectively played it since, but we all know that version best.
Right, is Linda's version, and yeah, and she was an Arizona icon.
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, yeah, she grew up in Tucson, so
I've taken a train out of the Ronstadt Transportation Center in Tucson. So
indeed,
the closest I've come to being my own Stone Pony.
To your brush with fame is being in her train station. All right, question 7. Micky Dolenz was part of the Hollywood Vampires, a social group that met to drink and play softball. Which famous Arizona resident founded the Hollywood Vampires? Alice Cooper.
You know it. He and Mickey have been friends for some time, and I guess they babysat one another's kids, or so they say. And in the 70s, they kicked around town with some other famous musicians and actors as the Hollywood Vampires, this social group that would play softball and raise some money for charity, and ultimately drink and have a good time. Old school Hollywood stuff.
Wow. Who knew? I mean, who knows what music came about because of those conversations?
That's true. I did have the opportunity. I did pay for it, but I had the opportunity to sing karaoke with Micky Dolenz a couple of years ago at a bar in Mesa. Had Rooster in its name, a bar with Rooster in its name in Mesa. And they were raising money for Alice Cooper's School of Rock. So,
okay. It
was very cool.
So what song did you sing?
I sang Goodbye Yellow Brick Road with Micky Dolenz.
Okay.
I didn't want to go on the nose directly with a Monkees song. So I picked something from that era, that Hollywood Vampires era, that I thought he might know and that I knew I could sing well enough. And it was a dream.
So almost like reaching up and changing the channel. It's like, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
we're not going to sing one of your songs. I'm going to go off script and choose something that you might know.
Yeah, Mickey, jump in on the chorus if you want. Anyway, goodbye, Elvira. Yeah, right.
All right. So back in 1968, the Monkees fan Rhonda Cook was in a horrible accident, and local DJ and TV personality and oh so much more reached out to the Monkees, and which one of them flew right here to go see Rhonda Cook? And that was Davy Jones.
That's right. Not to be exploitive with the story, but only to celebrate how in touch these guys were with their fans. Rhonda was a resident here in the Valley, and she was a young girl, maybe 10, 12 years old, crossing the street up at Cave Creek Road in Sweetwater, I believe, when she was in an accident that cost her legs. And I guess she was carrying a Monkees album, a new release, under her arm. And so when Pat McMahon caught wind of that, he reached out to the label, and sure enough, Davey hopped on a plane, walked into her hospital room. The Arizona Republic covered it pretty thoroughly. And in that snippet of printed news, you could see Davey signing his own driver's license and giving it to her as a keepsake. But they remained friends for years and years afterwards.
Oh, wow. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, she shares a lot of pictures of them together. And you see Davey through the years. You see him in the 60s. You see him in his mulleted phase in the 80s. We don't talk about that often, but he's got an interesting mullet and so on. So absolutely a great testimonial to how in touch the Monkees were with their fans then and even now. Very cool for him to do that.
No, that's pretty amazing. All right. So current Valley resident Ann Moses was a contributor and editor to What Teen magazine that frequently featured the Monkees and oh so many other celebrities. And it was Tiger Beat.
Tiger Beat. I got one of my issues right here.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Absolutely. There's a great shot of Davey on the back with his red.
Oh, indeed. I'm sure that wound up on many a wall.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just love the other heartthrobs of the era. I guess I didn't know that Leonard Nimoy was in league with the Monkees as a teen heartthrob. Oh, that Cold Logic.
But, right. You know, that more cerebral crowd was going for him.
Right. But I love these magazines as time capsules of that era. Here's a story about how Mickey became a Monkee, and it's written by his sister, Coco Dolenz, that tours with him to this day. And author and editor of these magazines, Ann Moses, does indeed live here in the Valley. When I hosted a local talk show, I befriended her to be a guest, and she very graciously agreed. And it was the thrill of a lifetime to talk to her about her touring with the Monkees and being on the set of their movie Head and other things. If I could just shamelessly say that she wrote a book about all those exploits, and it's right here. So you can find it at AnnMoses.com. AnnMoses.com is where you can find her book. And you can find that interview somewhere on YouTube too. But yeah, it's so cool that she's kind of...
Wow, I should reach out to her to be on Happy Hour. That would be a hoot.
You would love it. She is a treasure. She's so cool, so nice.
I mean, because Tiger Beat is such a snapshot of that like week. Who was hot?
Of what do you a snapshot of who is hot like on any given week of in like
exactly as time would change.
Absolutely yeah, and she was she contributed to the magazine most in the absolute best period that you can imagine, like 1965 to 1971. What an unbelievable period of time for music and pop culture and entertainment. So yeah, we're proud of.
Yeah, no, what fun. I will definitely do that because that would be a hoot. All right. So Michael Nesmith launched his 2013 tour, The Movies of the Mind, at what unique venue in the Valley? Oh, he was at MIM.
He was at MIM. Yep. Mike notoriously and famously did not tour with the Monkees for many years. When they reunited in 1986 for their 20th anniversary, he really had no part of it. He did appear on stage with them for the encore of their Greek theater show. And that was, historic for Monkees fans. It was the first time all four guys were on stage together at that point in over 20 years. But, after that, he really didn't have a lot to do with the group. He directed and produced their TV show reunion in 1996 and toured with them a little bit in England then. But otherwise, you pretty much just saw some kind of combination of Micky, Davey, or Peter on tour. After Davey passed in 2012, Mike toured with the guys as kind of an in memoriam concert tour. And I think he got a taste for it and began touring some of his solo work. And that Movies of the Mind tour kicked off here in Scottsdale, much to my absolute fanboy delight. And he would couple or group his songs into this kind of narrative that he prefaced with some original text he wrote, some kind of fictional story that painted the picture of the tale that was going to unfold in the following songs. A very unique format for a concert, something that he was known to do, things that just kind of broke up the monotony. And it was great. It started here. I had never been to MIM before, so it was this nice kind of double whammy of seeing Mike.
Oh.
Great. This is a great place too.
Oh my gosh, MIM is so amazing. I mean, I can't do it all in a day. There's so much to do.
Absolutely.
So, and then there's that playroom in the bottom, so you can, like, adults can go play with some of those instruments, well, and kids too. But it's just so much fun, like getting hands-on experience with a theremin.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So that would have been a hoot to see him there.
It was very cool, very intimate, and I paid a couple of extra bucks to get the meet and greet, completing my childhood dream of meeting all four Monkees. He was my final Monkee, and the only one that I had to pay for to meet, but totally worth it in the end because I got those pictures with each of them, and again, a childhood dream come true. So.
Indeed. So now you have the entire set.
Yes, indeed. I collected all four.
Wow. All right. So we always end with asking people, how did they do? So I always tell people it doesn't matter, how many you got right or wrong, but look at the great stories. Maybe you didn't realize that the first season ended with Phoenix, which I think is pretty cool. And you can go back and see Mountain Shadows and a shirtless Davy Jones running around chasing a swan.
That episode is in its entirety on YouTube if you search for Monkees on Tour.
Oh, I didn't realize it was on. You can find darn near anything on YouTube.
I mean, I'd recommend picking up the DVD set from Rhino Records, of course. But
well, yeah, because you want to see the whole. I mean, it's fun to watch the whole season, not just the one episode.
Absolutely.
And to see kind of what madcap zaniness, I remember seeing it in reruns and it was just hilarious.
The premises of the show, watching it as an adult, it's practically a live action cartoon.
Right.
Again,
exactly.
The sped up action and the plots were so absurd. Like in one of my favorite episodes, they're up against like Russian spies, because they've accidentally purchased secondhand maracas that have a microfilm inside.
Right.
They intercepted the contact for the microfilm in the maraca. The kind of stuff bands go through.
Indeed. Well, Russ, thank you so much. If people want to maybe look at your comics, where would be a good spot to do that?
They can follow me on Instagram at AmazingAZComics. All of my work is posted there, and they could DM me for inquiries about ordering my comics, or AmazingArizonaComics.com is the website.
Very good. Well, Russ, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us your passion of the Monkees.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, and it's an absolute delight to join you, Marshall. Thank you so much.
And so good to see you. It's been far too long.
I know. it's nice to be seen. I mean, I see you every week on this show, but it's nice to also now be seen by you as well.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you, Russ. Have a great rest of your night.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, Russ, thank you so much. That was so much fun as we get a chance to go down the Monkees. Now, it's so funny. So years ago, I was talking to some friends about the Monkees, and they thought I was talking not about the music group, but about the Monkees at North Mountain Hospital, which is a whole different topic together. But so it was kind of fun learning a little bit about both and the Monkees in the Valley. All right, so now we are on to From the Vault. And so for tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Willcox, Arizona. There's a little museum in Willcox dedicated to Rex Allen. So he grew up down there, he learned to ride, to rope, to shoot, to haul water, split wood, you name it. He was doing it right down in Willcox, and he loved to sing in the church choir. Then he had a high school teacher who was like, hey, you're pretty good. And so suggested that he went and got some formal training, which he did. And he even won a scholarship to go to college, but he decided to go against that and hit the road performing at rodeos, nightclubs, and on the radio. And then in the mid-40s, he won a singing gig on WLS back in Chicago. That lasted for a while. He then run up his own show on CBS. He also was a very talented composer, wrote over 300 songs, as well as he quickly became known as the voice of the West. So from radio, he then moved to television. And then a gentleman named Walt Disney heard him and was like, I like that voice. And so he narrated a slew of films. But I would like to think he is best known for he was the father in the General Electric Carousel of Progress. So there you can see Walt with a model of that. And so Rex Allen was the voice of the father. And then for the new one they released in the early 90s, he played the grandfather. So I found this out because I'm actually starting to put together a program all about Disney in Arizona, because every time I turn my head, I keep finding more and more Disney in Arizona. So if y'all have any stories about Disney in Arizona, I mean, we were recently just talking about, there was a movie. We were up in Cottonwood, and there was a movie up there called Nosy, the best smelling skunk in the West. So I just think that's funny. All right. So you'll see why I always suggest you share on Facebook, because who knew we could have so much fun with Arizona history and how quirky it can be. All right. So coming up next week, we have my friend Annette Williams-Trigg. She has a film festival, shoots movies all around town. And so it's going to be so much fun having her on. And I think I actually see her on Sunday because there's a premiere of a movie that I happen to play a little tiny piece in. Don't even know what I said or what I did. It was so long ago. But looking forward to seeing that and seeing a bunch of friends. So we're going to have a great time with that. So be sure and check in next week. That is 7:00 on Thursday night for more fun. Now, remember, if you have any questions, comments, if you have stories, suggestions, I mean, like now I'm going to hit up Ann to say like, hey, Ann, why don't you come on How We Were and talk about being editor of Tiger Beat? Because what fun. See, you never know quite what you're going to learn. I always love to give a special shout out to my friends Cole and Chris, who did that great video at the intro, as well as PJ for always coming up with cocktail that kind of tell the story and educate folks about Arizona. Beverages, and oh so much more. So again, here's how you can reach out to me. As we get ready to say goodnight, we are going to see a Dristan commercial from 1960, just because we're doing a special kind of on TV episode. So here we go.
When hay fever pollen invades your sinuses, brings runny nose, watery eyes, take Dristan. Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. Yes, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. That is, Dristan helps you breathe free and easy, as if you were far away from pollen or allergy irritation. Yes, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. Helps dry, runny nose, itchy, watery eyes. You see, Dristan tablets shrink swollen, congested nasal and sinus passages which cause runny nose and watery eyes. So you breathe free and easy fast. So when pollen invades your sinuses causing hay fever miseries, don't wish you could be in sunny, dry Arizona. Just remember, Dristan's like sending your sinuses to Arizona. Get Dristan decongestant tablets.